The greatest impact of COVID-19 will be on our mental health. The many months of enforced social distancing have deeply impacted our lives as social beings. Just as for many of us, the reality of lockdown has meant that ours has been a spiritual communion, one preventing us from drawing near with faith to receive the body of our Lord Jesus Christ, as exhorted in the words of common worship, or in those of the Book of Common Prayer, to offer and present unto Thee, O Lord, ourselves, our souls and bodies to be a reasonable, holy and lively sacrifice. In the Gospel reading set for the first Sunday of June, we are taken to an incident where the mother and brothers of Jesus become concerned for his mental health. We read that the people were saying, He, Jesus, has gone out of his mind, Mark 3 verse 21. When they try and intervene and rescue him from the pressures of his ministry, Jesus responds with these words, Whoever does the will of God is my brother and sister and mother, Mark 3 verse 35. In this sentence, we are taken into the mystery of our relationship with God and with those around us. Here is a deeper journey than that of servants becoming friends, or those who were marginalized and excluded becoming included in the new community of faith. For here we are reminded it is actual union with Jesus Christ, beginning in our baptism and the reception of Jesus into our lives at the Eucharist. That is the prescient condition of all obedience. All obedience that begins with that word yes. And so I want to thank you, church wardens, for your yes. For some of you it is another year, for others it is your first year. You will hold the difficult but crucial ministry of care of your clergy and your congregations in your prayers and in the choices in the year ahead. As I look ahead, I'd like to share a reflection. From the many experiences and stories I've heard from PCCs and clergy in the past year. Your creative response to the changing landscape of COVID-19 has been inspirational. All of us have had to adapt to the challenges of the digital world, and some of you have used your outdoor space in new and creative ways. I'm thinking of a 13th century church tower in Hornsey, where for many years only a small handful of people could gather within its ancient stones. But in the midst of a health pandemic, this became a space where up to 60 people gathered in the grounds for worship. I'm thinking of the churches in Barnet, Enfield and Camden who closed streets last Christmas to hold socially distanced carol services. I'm thinking of Jesus Church, who in the warmth of summer worshipped on a Sunday outside their church, and of All Saints Edmonton on Easter morning, who gathered in the grounds of their church, for they could not enter their building to greet our risen Lord. These, along with the well-established traditions of processions and singing outdoors, meant that, for the first time, neighbours and passerbyers could witness God's people in worship, whereas before it would have been within the confines of their building behind closed doors. As we look to the summer, there is a scheme being devised by the GLA called Cool Spaces. In time, local authorities will be compiling both indoor and outdoor venues where people can gather safely in the midst of a heat wave. Our churches can be wonderfully cool spaces in the midst of such times. In the midst of a built environment where so many live in flats where they cannot get a through flow of air to cool down. So now is the time to prepare and to plan for such an act of hospitality that may well be life-saving for our neighbours. As we look to a time when our lives will not be dominated by COVID-19 in the way they have been, I've been inspired by the project coming from the Cathedral of St. Paul, with their virtual Book of Remembrance and the desire to create a physical memorial to the last 12 months and more. It has been clear to me that all of the parishes in the Archdeaconry have been part of their community's story and struggle during this pandemic, a story of compassion and loss. And so I pray that in the year ahead, you will find the ways of helping those communities heal and remember, for we too are a people of memory. St. Mark records that after the incident with Jesus, his brothers and mother, he goes on to tell the parable of the sower. And so I want to end by praying for you, church wardens, for your ministry, for the seeds of hope that you will sow in the year ahead, for the sake of Christ's church and his kingdom. Thank you.